There are 3 different ways that you can handle situations, and depending upon which one you choose will determine the quality of your relationships. Hi guys, my name is Katie May, and I am your guide to building a brand based on authentic connection. Today I wanted to talk about kind of confrontation styles and how your mindset plays a really big role in how you feel the need to stand up for yourself, whether or not you do. So like I said, there's 3 different ways, mainly. There's like subtypes to them, of course, but that you can handle confrontations. You can see the other person as the problem. You're like, okay, all of this wouldn't have happened if you wouldn't have done X, Y, and Z, right? And then there's the second option where you see yourself as the problem. You're like, oh my God, this wouldn't have happened if I would have done X, Y, and Z. And then there's the third option, which is the more emotionally stable option, and that's seeing all of us as human. And the beautiful part about being human is I'm not right, you're not right. We're both fuck-ups, and if we can see the part that we both played in this situation, then we have an actual way to move forward. The issue comes into play is most relationships have altering dynamics. So one person will typically be like, you're the problem, and the other person will be like, I'm the problem. And this also goes back to like anxious attachment types and avoidant attachment types. These 2 attachment types seem to always fight each other in one way or another. And it's because of their different confrontation styles. And somebody who always blames somebody else needs someone that also always blames themselves. And when that person that always blames themselves finally says, no, like, we're both the problem, like, we both have something, like, a hand to play at this, like, I need to be respected just as much as you need to be respected. The person that's always used to pointing the finger has an entire ego death. Well, they have the option of having an ego death. They can be like, how dare you ever say that I could do anything wrong? Like, I am X, Y, and Z. You know that I've done all these things. Like, how could I ever be the problem, you know? And then there's the other option where they're like, oh crap, like, maybe I am the problem. Like, maybe I'm not as much of a golden child as I thought that I was, right? And a lot of it has to do with our upbringing and kind of what we're used to in those scenarios. But it's really hard being in either dynamic, right? Because if you're used to blaming yourself, you're typically not going to have that much confidence. You're not going to stand up for yourself, especially when it matters. It's really hard being in that dynamic with somebody else that's also constantly pointing out your flaws, because sometimes they're going to find flaws that you don't even see in yourself. And it's not a bad thing to have flaws. We're human. We're supposed to have flaws. It's the part of this beautiful life that's really enjoyable and really amazing. But the issue comes into play is if all you ever see is your flaws. If all you ever see is your flaws, you're going to become a really angry and a really sad and a really hateful person. And if you can change your perspective to being like, yes, I have flaws, but I also have all of these beautiful talents that I can use, you actually start to use your talents so much more, and you start to see the world as this really complex dynamic between good and bad. I know Hitler is kind of an extreme example, but Hitler wasn't he wasn't the most extreme bad, right? He did a lot of like crazy things, and we don't agree with anything that he did to mass majorities of people. But him being human, sorry, I couldn't tell if this car was actually going to go or not. Him being human means that he was still complex in his dynamic. He definitely had a lot of issues that he had to work through, but oh my gosh, sorry, people are just doing weird stuff. This car parked in front of me on the road, and they were about to let somebody out, and then before there was a car on my right that stopped at a stop sign, and then I stopped next, and then the person on the left stopped. So the person on my right went, and that means it's my turn to go next. So I started to creep out, and then the guy on my left started to go, so I just stopped and I waited until he came to a full stop and like gave me a little motion to like continue on. And I was like, okay. So I lost my train of thought. Basically, if you see yourself always putting yourself down, maybe it's time to start looking at how good you really are. And if you're always pointing fingers at other people, maybe it's time to see yourself as a complex human. None of us are fully good. None of us are fully evil. We all are a mix of both of these dynamics. But what really determines our presence here as people is what we decide to do with that dynamic. So just my little 5-minute chat for the day. I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, leave them down below. And if you're wanting to schedule a one-on-one free Zoom call to really focus on a brand that is based on authenticity, click the link in my bio and I'll see you guys there. Peace.